Hi, I'm Carson Hunter, and I'm doing Israel's incursions and attacks in Palestinian areas do not rise to the level of genocide. First, I wanted to state the definition of genocide from Merriam-Webster. It's the deliberate destruction of a racial, political, or cultural group. So let's start there. First, I don't think they're deliberately destructing a racial or political group or cultural group. It's a war that Hamas in Gaza started. Now, some background info. Hamas launched their deadly attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023, prompting the Israeli Defense Force to engage in aerial campaigns and ground operations within the Gaza Strip. The U.S. Secretary of State was trying to issue a ceasefire and hostage release deal between the two parties after a couple months of the spark of the war. This war has sparked other Middle Eastern places to start small conflicts within Israel as well. Places such as Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon have started skirmishes with the IDF, as well as Yemen's Houthi rebels shooting missiles at Israel and commercial ships in the Red Sea. Now, the conflicts date all the way back to 1947. The UN adopted the Resolution 181, which was the partition plan that divided the British Mandate of Palestinian land into Arab and Jewish states. Then on May 14th, 1948, the State of Israel was created. And that's kind of the epicenter of the whole issue, is that Israel was created in Palestine. Doesn't like that because their land was taken wrongfully, according to them. This conflict dates back all the way. Backtrack, we digress. Hamas has been considered a terrorist group by Western governments since the late 1990s. Now, a terrorist group is someone inflicting fear, intentional fear, on a specific group. In 2014, Hamas decided to fire around 3,000 missiles into Israel, and then Israel retaliated with a major offense in Gaza. And then in 2021, Trump came in and took away the funding from the UN for the Relief and Works Agency, which provided aid to Palestinian refugees. They then relocated the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv over to Jerusalem. In early May 2021, a court ruled in favor of eviction of Palestinian families from Eastern Jerusalem properties. This caused protests to erupt, which makes sense. It sounds like the protests were just normal protests for the most part. It caused Israeli police to apply force to the protesters. This then caused Hamas to fire hundreds of rockets in the Israeli territory, and then Israel retaliated, killing 20 Palestinians. And that was in 2021, so 2 years later is when this whole thing started in 2023. Most recent development was Hamas started the war firing rockets into Israel and stormed the southern Israeli cities and towns across the border of Gaza Strip in a surprise attack. This attack killed more than 1,300, injured around 3,300, and then took hundreds hostage. This is Israeli statistics. All of that sparked Israel's government to declare war against Hamas and then order from the IDF defense minister to carry out a complete siege of Gaza. So this was the creation of the war. And it's the biggest war and conflict between Israel and Palestine in decades. Now, I did want to take time and compare this to the Holocaust and Rwandan genocide, because that's what we look at when we think of genocide, specifically the Holocaust. Number of Jews killed in the Holocaust, 6 million. Total people killed in the Holocaust was 17 million by the Nazis. Now, let's go over to the war, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict war. Palestinian deaths rise to 42,344 roughly, depending on when that statistic was taken. It appears to be recent from Statista.com. And then Israeli deaths, 5,431. Now, those numbers are quite different and skewed. Way more Palestinian deaths than Israeli deaths. We could chalk that up to maybe population density per city and kind of how tight it is over there in Gaza and like Hamas versus Israeli, and maybe the aggression from Israeli is more. But this is just basically this is to decide whether it's genocide. It's not genocide because, again, the deliberate destruction of a racial, political, or cultural group is needed for it to be genocide, and this isn't deliberate. It is war that Hamas started over them being upset about their land and other wrongdoings that they think Israel has done. The Israelis have simply just been trying to protect themselves and retaliating in a way to make sure Hamas does not do this ever again. No matter which side you're on, war is never good, and it's bad whichever way you look at it. So it kind of sucks arguing for one side. And there's tons of arguments saying Israelis doing wrong by bombing hospitals and bombing civilian areas, but the Hamas terrorist group is putting their camps and troops in these civilian areas and hospitals, so that way Israeli armies have no choice than to bomb those, causing more deaths for civilians and the army, and taking away hospitals. So I mean, no matter which way you look at it, it is wrong and is bad, and it sucks that it's happening. But my stance is that it is not genocide. And thank you.